Hello everyone, it is Matt here from Scoop in Response, and today we're going to be looking at one of the most popular commanders of all time, and that is Lathril, Blade of the Elves. I did a video on this particular commander a little while back, and I guess I didn't really anticipate just the sheer popularity of the commander when I did that video, so I thought, well, it's a really great time to update the commander because we're getting some absolutely bomb new cards with the new set Phyrexia All Will Be One. So yeah, I thought it was a good time to jump in and look at just how you would build this commander in 2023. Let's jump in and have a look at the list. So first of all, you'll notice we've got a huge range of creatures. We're running 34 creatures in total in this list. It's really creature centric. Obviously, with a commander like Lathril, we've got elf synergy. So whenever you deal combat damage to a player, you create green elf warrior tokens that are 1/1s. So anything that's going to be pumping those warrior tokens is going to be sweet. Any elf pumps and any green token pumps that you want to have as well, they're all going to sort of work. All those lord effects are going to really assist with doing extra damage. And then you can tap 10 untapped elves you control, and each player loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. So as you can see, with the commander like this, all you need is a Seedborn Muse, 10 elves, and 1 turn around the table, and you can basically do 40 damage and gain 40 life. And yeah, absolutely insane with all of that. So let's start by looking at, I guess, the creature base in a bit more detail. We've got Arbor Elf, Birds of Paradise, Deathrite Shaman, Elves of Deep Shadow, Elvish Mystic, Fyndhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves. These are all of your sort of primary one-drop dorks. So we've got 7 of those. And then Kyrian Ranger also fits into that as well. Return a forest you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, and use this only once each turn. So Kyrian Ranger, very cool because if you don't have a land drop to play, you can basically use this to get an extra untap out of an extra mana out of like a dork, but on top of that you also have a land to play as well, so it can often generate you 2 mana as well, so really sweet there. Wirewood Symbiote, similar to Kyrian Ranger, return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, and activate only once each turn. So if you tap an elf for mana and then you return it, then you tap another elf for mana, and then you return one of those to untap the elf again to generate extra mana. So you can kind of use it to ladder up and go from there. We've got Bloom Tender. It's a bit of a bigger, what do you call it? It's a bigger dork, so it'll tap for 2 in this deck. And we've got Elvish Clankcaller, which is probably the first of our elf lords. We've got a number of them in this list, so sort of get used to that. The unfortunate thing with this card is it is just a lord. The search effect won't work except in the weirdest of circumstances. Maybe you've created a token copy of this card and then you've put it back into your deck to search out again. That's one way that it could actually work, but most of the time it's just a 2-drop lord. Elvish Visionary, really good card. In Legacy Elves, this is like the best card in the deck. So yeah, really sweet card there. It just draws a card, but you can return it to hand and play it again and just keep getting more and more value out of that. On top of that, we've got Elvish Warmaster. This is another, I guess, token generator, and you're using it as well as a bit of a finisher, or at least like to get extra damage through once you're at the point where you can get your pay 7 mana to pump everything to +2/+2 and Death Touch. Leaf Crown Visionary, it's another new card that's come out recently with Dominaria. +1/+1 to other elves, and whenever you cast an elf spell, you can pay 1 green. Sorry, just a green, and if you do, you draw a card. So really good when you're sort of like top decking. This kind of thing can just really turn your game around. Llanowar Loam Speaker, another I guess 2-drop dork, but it has additional utility in that it is something that can target a land to make it a creature with haste, and you can activate that as a sorcery only, so just on your turn. So very cool card with that one. Priest of Titania, it's the more dorks you have, the more elves you have, the more this taps. So yeah, this is a huge card in this list. Similar situation, Elvish Archdruid, +1/+1 for each elf, so you got the Lord and additional tapping with that. That's pretty well it for the dorks, so I'll try not to go into it too much. There are a few more in the higher CMCs. Eternal Witness, this is just an all-star card. You want to return this to your hand and play it again, and you're just continuously getting value out of your graveyard. Azuri, this can protect your elves. It also is a win con. You pump them all. If you can generate a whole heap of mana, you pump up, give everything +10/+10, and they gain trample. Now onto the first new card, we've got Glisser Sunsayer. So first strike, death touch. Whenever Glisser Slayer deals combat damage to a player, choose one. You draw a card and you lose a life. Destroy target enchantment or remove up to 3 counters from a target permanent. So this is really sweet for a number of reasons. Basically nothing is going to beat it in combat because it's got the combination of first strike and death touch, but also just having card draw and enchantment removal and being able to remove counters from things. You could remove loyalty counters, you could do a whole bunch of different things. It's really cool and just a really flexible card. I think this card is absolutely gas and just super useful to have in a deck. Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia, so it's another 2-drop, another 2 dork, so taps for 2 for 3 mana. And whenever you cast a creature spell with 5 power or greater, you put a +1 counter on the creature and untap it. So you can kind of spin the wheels a bit and you'll get a couple of untaps with this one, so really cool. Harold, King of Skemfar. So this is a sweet card that came out with Kaldheim, but it's actually gotten better with the one of the new cards that's also come out now with the new Tyvar. So this one's really sweet in that you search for an Elf, Warrior, or a Tyvar card and put it to your hand from the top 5 cards of your library. Now, most of the time you're just going to find an Elf, but on the chance that you do find a Tyvar, that's going to be really sweet, and also Warriors as well. So very cool card. Imperious Perfect, another Lord and a token generator. There's just so many of these. Even in a singleton format, we just have so many. We've got Marwyn. It's a slow dork that's going to tap for a lot more mana as it gets bigger and bigger. We've got Opposition Agent because, why not? Flash creatures are really sweet. We're going to have lots of things to do with our mana, so having something at flash speed is actually pretty relevant. Realm Walker, you choose Elf every time you play your Elves off the top of your deck, and really cool. Rexage, another way to destroy artifacts and enchantments. Shaman of the Pack, this is a bit of a finisher, ETBs, and target opponent loses life equal to the number of elves you control. So most of the time this is going to be like a 4, 5 to 6 damage when it ETBs, so very cool way to sort of get a bit of extra reach. Really cool card. Another new one, Titania, Voice of Gaia, legendary creature, elemental. It's a 3/4 with reach, and whenever 1 or more lands are put into the graveyard, you gain 2 life. So a little bit of sustain for putting lands into the graveyard. So instead of fetch lands paying 1 life, you'll actually end up with 1 extra life. So very cool. And it's also got at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the land and it on the battlefield, it transforms into the big wombo combo Titania. Really cool. Beast Whisperer, cast a creature spell, draw a card. So more than a third of our deck is creatures, so that's a lot of the time. We've got Canopy Tactician, a 4-drop Lord that taps for 3. This is really good rate for pumping up things, and then getting 3 extra green on the next turn is really sick. And this is going to be even more useful when we look at one of the other new cards, which is Tyvar, which we will shortly. We've got Dwynen Glintleaf Dane, and it's another elf, Lord, and whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So also reach, so really cool. Rootpath Purifier. Lands you control and land cards in your library are basic. This card is absolutely gas. Now, you could go deeper into your into this sort of strategy with cards like a Shire, the Tree Folk, and all of that kind of stuff to give everything indestructible and make everything really cool. That's maybe a different deck, but I still think if you wanted to include that in this, you absolutely should. Cards like Elvish Reclaimer, all of that stuff, super sweet. And then lastly, we've got Seedborn Muse for the last creature card that is, sort of our top end. Absolutely, if you have a Craterhoof Behemoth and you want to play it, chuck it in this list. It's definitely not going to be bad. I just like to sort of have something a little bit less generic for this. It's kind of akin to, Blightsteel, and Colossus, and Craterhoof Behemoth, Thassa's Oracle. They're all kind of like really obvious win cons. I like building into the commander-centric version a bit more now. yeah, so that's pretty much all of our creatures. We'll jump in and have a look at the non-creature, non-land. So we're sort of just going to go in the order that I am browsing it on Moxfield, so that's why it's going to look a bit different on screen. So sorceries first up, we've got Glimpse of Nature, play a creature spell, draw a card. So it's a Beast Whisperer for 1 mana. Green Sun Zenith, it is search for a green creature, which is every single creature in your deck except for opposition agents, so really, really sweet with that. We've got Finale of Devastation, so it's another Green Sun Zenith type thing, but it also works from your graveyard, very relevant if they've removed that key piece that you want, like your Seedborn Muse. Life from the Loam, return 3 land cards from your graveyard to your hand. Sick card. Play this in every green deck in Commander. I think it's just absolutely amazing. It's going to always give you card advantage if you have, cycling lands or anything like that. Really useful to draw a card and loam and draw a card and loam. Really good. Pact of the Serpent. So this is an interesting one. You choose a creature type, target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. So most of the time this is going to be like 3 mana, lose 5 life, draw 5 cards, because you'll target yourself. But every now and again you'll come up against another tribal commander or another player, playing a different type of tribe, or maybe they have, Maskwood Nexus out or something like that, and you can just have them, lose 10 life and you kill them. So really cool card, quite flexible. Turn Timber Symbiosis, it's a sorcery on one side, a land on the other. Really cool overall. So yeah. Instants, we have Crop Rotation, Nature's Claim, Veil of Summer. So these are our interaction pieces. So, Veil to protect your stuff, Nature's Claim to destroy things, Crop Rotation to search for lands, specific lands. Now, this card has much more use if you're playing things like Gaia's Cradle, Cabal Coffers, Urborg, all of those things. So all of the big mana lands. It's not as useful if you're not playing those. I understand Guy's Cradle is like $1,000 US or something like that, so not everyone's going to access that, but proxy it, or if your playgroup's okay with proxies, I'd say absolutely go and proxy it and have a crack with it, because it's a really fun card. But yeah, expensive, and if you don't own it, there's no shame in not owning that card. Then we've got some removal spells. We've got Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, Force of Vigor for enchantments and artifacts. Got Deadly Rollick, really cool, and we've got Dismember. So sometimes we want to deal with like an indestructible god from one of the Theros sets or something like that, and we just need to kill it through indestructibility, and this is going to be the way that we're going to do it, because we don't really have many exile effects aside from the Deadly Rollick mentioned before. And the last few cards we've got for the instance, we've got Benefactor's Draft, untap all lands until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls blocks, draw a card, and you draw a card. So yeah, really cool interaction piece. Untap all creatures. I think I might have said untap all lands. So this is just a way to get another hit with your Lathril. So you activate it, and then maybe someone does something like tries to remove your your commander or something like that, and you untap it and activate it again, and you win the game, or something like that. Heroic Intervention, everything gets hexproof and indestructible on yours. And we've got Return of the Wildspeaker, so really cool card draw spell. Sometimes you're going to use it to put all your elves to +3/+3, but most of the time it's just card draw. Artifacts, we have Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, Talisman of Resistance. Now all of these are, I think, pretty standard for this kind of deck. I would say that if you don't own a Mana Crypt and a Jeweled Lotus and you don't want to buy them and you don't want to play them, totally fine. We have so many dorks. Just add a few extra dorks. You can add Boreal Druid. You could add, any other dork. There's so many that you could add. You do not have to play these pieces. They are expensive. 1,000-year elixir, so you can activate abilities of creatures you control as though they had haste, and pay 1 and a tap to untap target creature. So really useful in that if someone removes your commander, you can play your commander again and activate at the same turn if you've still got your board presence established. So really great card. Coat of Arms, each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type with it. So this is the Lord of Lords. If you've got 5 dorks or 5 elves, everything gets +5/+5. If you've got 10, it's +10/+10. Really, really sweet. Vanquish's Banner, it's another Lord on an artifact, but every time you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you draw a card. So more card draw. Really, really good package with this. And I guess this is why, for me, I don't really think we need the Craterhoof Behemoth or anything like that, because these 5-cost artifacts are much more castable than a 8-drop for a start, especially after a board wipe. But having the ability to power through those board wipes and continuously refill your hand and re-establish the board, because we know that we're going to get board wipes every third turn. It's inevitable part of playing a tribe. Someone's just going to bring out those Wrath of God. So yeah. Now we've got enchantments and planeswalkers to go. So Carpet of Flowers, it's just a great ramp spell. Utopia Sprawl, Wild Growth, same thing. We've got Quest for Renewal. Whenever a creature you control becomes tapped, you put a counter on it, and as long as there are 4 or more, you untap all creatures you control during each other player's untapped step. So you might have seen that the other quest recently has been getting a bit of hype, the red one, because of its combo with the other card that's coming out in All Is One, which is the titular card. So yeah, but this is a great card for this deck, so I would definitely say that it should be considered. Sylvan Anthem, it's a Lord, and it's not quite a card draw when you ETB with a creature, but it's a scry, so it's pretty good. Sylvan Library, as we mentioned, more card draw, really good. Gaia's Anthem, more Lords. Guardian Project, same thing again, draw a card when you cast a creature spell. And then lastly, we've got Leyline of Abundance. So yeah, basically all of your dorks tap for 1 more. Really cool. And then once you have heaps of mana and you're untapping each turn with the Seedborn Muse, you can just put more and more counters on each creature each turn by paying 8 if there's nothing else relevant to do. So really cool. The last few the last few non-lands we've got. So this is the big one that I think is a massive game changer for this deck. Tyvar Jubilant Brawler. So you may activate abilities of creatures you control as those creatures had haste. So it's that elixir again, and really strong on a planeswalker. Particularly on a planeswalker that untaps a target creature. So it's going to make your Dorps tap faster. You're going to untap them again, and you've also got an additional ability with mill 3 cards and then return a creature card with 2 or less mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is just a massive upgrade to that 3-drop slot in this deck. It's just going to it's never going to win you the game on its own, but it's going to push you turns ahead. It's going to give you, particularly in your opening hands and your openers, this is just going to accelerate you a whole turn, maybe 2 turns ahead, because of how much faster you can get mana out. So if you think that we play a dork, or maybe 2 dorks on turn 1, but if we just go for the turn 1 dork, and then turn 2 we drop this, straight up we can untap the dork, and then we can cast another dork, which we can then activate straight away. So turn 1 from 1 dork, we can have this in play on turn 2 and potentially another 2 dorks. So that's just a monstrous improvement. Additionally, we could just have this come into play, and add another dork, and then on the turn 3 we have a boatload of mana, 6 mana, something like that. We can get our Coat of Arms or our Vanquish's Banner out on turn 3 because we've just ramped so well. And because it's a Planeswalker, it's not going to die to Rats, so really cool. We've got the other Tyvar Kell. So Elves you control tap for black now as well, so that's really cool. And then you can uptick it to put a counter on a creature, which is an elf, and you untap it against Death Touch. And then you can create tokens, which are more elves, and then you get an emblem for the neg 6, which is whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, you draw 2 cards. So yeah, really strong emblem as well. And the last one we've got is Vraska Golgari Queen. So you sacrifice another permanent and you draw a card. This is great in top deck mode. So if you've you've drawn all of your you've ramped, you've got all of your dorks out and everything like that, and you're just not drawing any gas, this kind of card is like, oh cool, we'll just sacrifice our Elvish Mystic because we don't need an extra mana now because we've got like 7 or 8 or 10, but we want the card draw and we want a bit of extra life gain. Then we've got the removal spell, which is really good. And and then the ultimate is a bit of a meme, you can win. So whenever you can emblem, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So if that's what you're into, go for it. I don't see this as happening very often. I think it's maybe happened I played this card a lot in the first year or so of its release, because it sort of came out just as I started playing. And yeah, basically, I think I might have ultimated this once and then killed someone with it once. And that was playing, decks with this card in it maybe twice, 3 times a week for a year or so. Yeah, it's really hard to do and really difficult to sort of get off when you do. So that's it for all of the non-lands. So we'll look at the lands now. So it's a bit of an unassuming mana base. It's quite simple, but I'm not lost on the fact that there are some expensive cards here. So first thing, like with all of the deck techs that we go over, it is not critical that you have a full suite of OG Jewels, fetch lands, Gaia's Cradles, all of that kind of stuff. If you don't own these cards and you don't want to proxy them, totally fine. Remove them from the deck, don't play them. Otherwise, chuck them in the deck. If you're lucky enough to have them, that's awesome for you. That's I guess the primary thing. I'm trying to present a balanced mana base here so that we've got access to all of our colors and we're using the best utility lands. So cards like Gemstone Caverns is a ramp spell in a land slot. So if you have this in your opener, you can use this for having a first land drop turn 0. Really good card, but it's like, $50. If you don't own one, no one's gonna be upset. Cards like Cabal Coffers, Cavern of Souls, and Urborg. Now, while Urborg and Cabal Coffers have gone down in price a lot recently, Cavern of Souls has not, so it's still quite expensive. So I would say that, you don't need to include it. It is a really good card, particularly Cavern of Souls in this deck, because of the fact that everything is an elf. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it, but yeah. If you get stuck for all of this, I would say just don't play a bunch of like semi-useless utility lands. Instead just go for things like a tapped land, like the new tapped Duels, the new tapped Snows, even the indestructible artifact Duels. All of those things are much better than playing a Reliquary Tower or a Shrine of Forsaken Gods or whatever it is. The one that doesn't tap for 1 mana, it only taps for 2 mana. That card's bad. Don't play that. So yeah, I guess the few notable cards with this one, we've got Argoth, Sanctum of Nature. This is a really sweet card. So we're going to have lots of legendary creatures, so it's almost always coming into play untapped. But yeah, if I think it's like a couple of bucks for this card, and you can tap it to add green, and you can pay 4, and you create a bear, and then mill 3 cards. And then it obviously melds with Titania as well, so really cool. Nurturing Peatland, card draw on a land, really cool. Phyrexian Tower, if you want to sacrifice a creature for 2 black, that's a pretty sweet deal. And then we've got Rogue's Passage, creatures can't be blocked. Now there's lots of other things that you can add to this list. You see the Field of the Dead, you can see all of that stuff. I would definitely say, you can add more basics, definitely add more basics. This list has 28 lands in it. Now, 28 lands is a lot lower. Lots of people are going to say there is no way near enough lands in this deck. We have so many turn 1 plays for dorks. You should probably look at, for a list like this, because of the density of card draw that we have in the 2, 3, and 4 mana slots, we can comfortably play to having one of those to fill our hand most of the time. Because we have 7 1-drop, 8 1-drop dorks that are going to accelerate us, we only really need to keep hands of like 1 and 2. We can get, well, not 1, 2 and 3. We don't need to keep 4 or 5 mana hands to get to our 4 or 5 mana spells. There's only, I think, 1 5 mana creature, which is Seedborn Muse. Everything else is lower than that. So often you are going to have more than enough mana, and with all of our untaps, with all of our abilities, we're not going to need the density of lands that you would normally have. Now that said, if you wanted to add like 2 or 3 extra lands because you don't have a Mana Crypt and a Jeweled Lotus and another dork or something like that, then that's totally sensible to include for the lands number 29, 30, 31. Oh, and we do have the MDFCs as well, so that actually makes it 29 lands in this list. But yeah, if you're not comfortable playing, less than 32, 33, 34, totally fine. But in this list, there's a specific choice that we've made to reduce the number of lands overall, and it's purely just to get more dorks in, because those do way more than drawing land number 6, land number 7, land number 8. So with that said, that is pretty much the deck. yeah, it's something that I really enjoy playing Elves. I like playing it in Legacy. There's lots of people in my immediate Magic group that just absolutely love, playing Elves. We've got a dedicated Elves player, everything like that. And it's something that, when I first started playing Commander and I guess Legacy as well, yeah, Elves was like the thing I wanted to do. So this is like sort of near and dear to my heart. I really enjoy this Commander. Would love to know if there's anything that you've sort of seen in the last 2 years that you really think should be included in this list. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to give us a like and don't forget to eat your vegetables. That is all from me today, and I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.